Ezra Cade stood at the front desk of the Holly's Grand at 11 at night, his 4-year-old son Milo asleep against his shoulder, a small paper bag from the airport gift shop in his free hand, and watched the desk clerk shake her head for the second time. "I'm not finding anything under Cade," she said, not looking up from her screen. "And we're at capacity tonight, sir. There's a wedding block upstairs." "Could you check under the ownership group booking?" Ezra asked quietly. "It might be filed differently." The clerk, whose name tag read Priya, glanced at his flight-creased jacket, at Milo's sleep-flushed face, at the dollar store paper bag, and made a decision in under 3 seconds. "I really don't think there's anything to find," she said. "There's a Marriott 4 blocks up. They might have space." Milo stirred against his shoulder, murmuring, and Ezra shifted his weight carefully, saying nothing about the fact that he had personally approved the wiring for the lobby chandelier 18 months ago, or that the paint color on the wall behind Priya's head had been chosen from a swatch he'd held in this exact spot. He had no idea yet that the woman currently stripping linens on the 4th floor, a stranger to every person at this desk, was about to say 4 words that would put his entire evening and Priya's job into a completely different light. Remember the paper bag. What's inside it matters more than anyone behind that desk realizes. If you believe the people easiest to overlook are usually paying the closest attention, stay with me, because tonight proves it. Subscribe now so you don't miss where this goes. Ezra was 39, a widower for 2 years, since his wife Naomi died of an aneurysm with no warning at all, gone between one ordinary Tuesday morning and the next. He owned a small chain of 9 boutique hotels across 3 states, built from a single failing motel he'd bought at 26, and slowly turned into something people actually wanted to stay in. He rarely announced himself at his own properties. He'd learned early that the only honest way to know how his staff treated people was to be treated like nobody himself. Inside the paper bag was a small wooden carousel horse, hand-painted, purchased at the airport because tomorrow was Milo's birthday, and because Naomi had ridden a carousel exactly like it on their first date, a detail Ezra had never told anyone at any of his properties, because it had never seemed like anyone's business but his own. "Remember the carousel horse, too. It's going to matter twice tonight, not once." "Please," Ezra said. "It's been a long travel day and my son needs a bed. Could someone just look again?" "Sir, I've looked," Priya said, with the flat patience of someone who has decided the conversation is already over. "There's genuinely nothing available." It was at that moment a woman in a burgundy housekeeping vest came around the corner from the service hallway, arms full of folded towels, and slowed when she saw the scene at the desk, the sleeping child, the tired set of the father's shoulders, the particular stiffness in Priya's posture. Her name tag read Corrine. "Everything all right over here?" she asked, setting the towels down. "Reservations not showing," Ezra said. "I understand it's a busy night." Corrine glanced at the front desk screen without asking permission, an easy, practiced motion. "Did you check the ownership block? Sometimes bookings made through the executive office file under a separate tab entirely. Happens every few months." Priya's jaw tightened slightly. "I checked the system." "The secondary tab," Corrine said again, gently but without backing down. A pause. Priya clicked through with visible reluctance and her face changed almost immediately. "There's a reservation here," she said slowly. "Under Cade, executive booking." "There usually is," Corrine said simply. Corrine looked at Ezra properly then, the way she'd clearly trained herself to look at everyone who came through, tired or not, important or not. Her eyes landed on the paper bag in his hand. "That's a lovely little horse," she said, catching a glimpse of the carousel figure through the bag's open top. "Is it for a birthday?" Ezra looked down at it. "Tomorrow. He turns 5. He adjusted Milo gently against his shoulder. "His mother used to love carousels. I try to keep pieces of her around for him, even in small ways like this." Corrine's expression shifted, something quiet moving behind her eyes that had nothing to do with hospitality training. "My late husband used to say the same thing," she said softly, "about keeping small pieces of someone around. He passed 9 years ago. I still keep his coffee mug in my kitchen cabinet, even though I don't drink coffee from it. Some things you just can't put away." Ezra felt something in his chest loosen slightly, the specific relief of being understood by a stranger in exactly the way he needed to be, without having asked for it. "I'm sorry for your loss," he said quietly. "I'm sorry for yours too," Corrine said. "Let me get you checked in properly, and let's get this little one somewhere he can actually lie down flat." The reservation, once located, was confirmed within minutes, a suite on the 6th floor. Before Ezra went up, He asked quietly to speak with the general manager, not out of anger, but because patterns were worth understanding. The general manager, a man named Foster Rourke, arrived within minutes and went visibly pale the instant he recognized the name on the registration screen. "Mr. Cade," he said, "I had no idea you were. I'm terribly sorry for the confusion at the desk." "I'd like to talk about what happened," Ezra said, "not as your employer correcting staff. As a guest who was told to leave twice before anyone bothered to look twice." He described the exchange plainly. Then he described Corrine, the secondary tab, the carousel horse, the coffee mug she still kept for a husband 9 years gone. "I'm not asking you to fire anyone out of anger tonight," Ezra said. "I'm asking you to look at whether this was one bad moment or a pattern nobody with enough authority ever noticed." The following week's review confirmed it was the latter, 3 prior guest complaints about the front desk, quietly absorbed and forgotten. Priya was let go not that night, but after the pattern was properly documented. What stayed with Ezra in the weeks that followed wasn't the termination. It was Corrine. He found her 2 days later in the housekeeping break room, eating lunch alone. "I wanted to thank you properly," he said, sitting down across from her. "And I wanted to ask you something. I'm rebuilding our staff training program, the one that's supposed to teach new hires what hospitality actually means. I think you'd be better at running it than anyone currently doing the job." Corrine blinked. "I clean rooms, Mr. Cade. I'm not a trainer." "You noticed a bent posture and a paper bag and a stranger's grief in about 90 seconds, Ezra said. 2 trained desk staff stood 3 feet away and saw nothing at all. That's not a small skill. I'd like to pay you properly to teach it." She hesitated for several days before accepting, mostly out of disbelief that the offer was serious. It was, and within the year, Corrine became regional training coordinator for guest experience across all 9 of Ezra's properties, a role built specifically around what she'd already been quietly doing for years without a title. On her office wall, she kept a small photograph Ezra had sent her the week after Milo's birthday. The hand-painted carousel horse, sitting on a shelf beside a framed picture of Naomi. The card underneath read simply, "Thank you for noticing us when it would have been so easy not to." 2 years later, Milo, older now, asked his father once why that particular night, out of so many nights of travel, had stayed with him so clearly. "Because a woman I'd never met told me she still kept her husband's coffee mug," Ezra said. And in that exact moment, standing in a lobby I owned, holding your carousel horse, a total stranger understood something about grief that nobody at that front desk had bothered to notice at all. Kindness doesn't announce itself, Milo. It shows up quietly in someone noticing a paper bag, or a tired set of shoulders, or a birthday nobody else at the desk thought to ask about. The people who offer it without expecting anything back are usually the ones who deserve to be seen the most. Some evenings change nothing about the world at large, and everything about the one person who happened to be paying attention. Corrine never set out to be noticed. She simply looked a little closer, the way she always had, long before anyone thought to write it down. If this one reached you, tell us in the comments about someone who saw you clearly on a night you needed it most. Welcome to Heartverse. We're glad you're here.